Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Divine Earth Angels. So excited to see you all. Have a very, very awesome video today. So exciting. We have Ryan here from Rock the Divine, which is so cool because I like look up to her.
Oh,
Hi.
hi. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Thank
You were
you.
the first name that popped in my head when I thought about doing this and like connecting the different um, spiritual YouTubers in a more kind of like a sharing, like a little video podcast. So,
Yes. Oh, I think it's such a great idea. It's very good. I'm so glad you're doing it. And you're the best person to do it. Yeah.
thank you. I've been smiling so much since we've been chatting before the video, and like my cheeks are just going to be sore later.
Oh,
Yes, today we actually wanted to talk about a few things for you guys, which are a few of the basics about the angelic world. So the angels, the archangels, your spirit guides, and what that means, and how you can um, develop a relationship with them and discover that you have a connection with these beautiful light beings. And um, yeah, and we want to talk to you guys about that and a little bit about a few other things. So it should be really fun and interesting. And Ryan here is actually one of the first YouTubers that I started being recommended. So I was guided to Ryan in a very, very synchronistic way. I swear I just, looked at all the videos and tried to get as much information as I could while I was going through discovering that angels were reaching out to me. And it was very nice to have her warm and loving energy sharing that with us. So yeah, she's going to talk to us a little bit about these things and give us all some insight and some inspiration for how we can connect as well.
yes. Absolutely.
So tell me, Ryan, um, what was your first kind of connection with this realm of the angelic realm?
Oh, sorry, they're getting excited. When the angels get excited, I get chills up my shoulders. And I love, after all these years of having it happen, I still love when it happens. It still surprises me. It's sort of like they're in the back going, yes, yes, you're talking about it. How cool, you know? So anyway, I like to tell people when I'm getting those.
I love
Um, being being mostly clairsentient, that's my strongest gift. I always sense them, and that's why I get those chills physically.
that.
Anyway, um, you know, uh, when I first started having interactions with them, I didn't know that's who I was interacting with. I had started meditating to help my anxiety. A therapist had taught me how to meditate, and I was practicing every day, 5-10 minutes. And I started getting buzzing on my temples whenever I would do it. Right away, I think you have MS. You're
Yeah.
meditating and now you have MS or a pinched nerve, you know.
Yeah.
And that's my personality. I go right down a rabbit hole as soon as something happens. And what started unfolding was all these colors I would see in my vision and different sensations on my body. And that is what started taking me down this path of trying to find, what was I seeing? What was I hearing? I started seeing things with my actual eyes, like flashes of colors and sparkles. And usually it's out of the corner of your eye. So you sort of do a like, did I just see something? And it wasn't till later I reached out to a medium who teaches, and sorry, I hope that's not my computer. If you hear beeps, I apologize. I don't know how to turn them off. I reached out to a medium trying to get help because I was having all kinds of symptoms of a spiritual awakening in hindsight. And it was this medium who knew all this information about me. And she basically was like, you are in an angelic channel. And I'm like, I don't even believe in angels. I don't think so. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
And so that's how it started. That was, and I started it, practicing talking to them, and just more stuff started happening. And now they're so ingrained in my life. It's just amazing.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's so beautiful, and I can relate. I started having the same thing. Is where you'd get like a flash of blue, and it'd be like, whoa, what was that? And it's like
Yes.
now I know, like, oh, Archangel Michael, hi, like you're here, like
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. And it's so, they don't want to scare you. So a lot of times we're looking for something so obvious in front of us, and it's not. It's like they warm you up to it so
Yeah.
you don't get freaked out and shut yourself down. And the best way is sort of out of the corner of your eye, seeing movement, seeing that sparkle. And I don't always see the same stuff that I saw at the beginning of this journey, and sometimes I miss it. They
Yeah.
sort of up level you to different things that happen. I'm like, where are my sparkles at? But they do different things now, and those sparkles eventually will move in front of your face as you're getting more comfortable. And I always tell people, all of a sudden you'll be looking like I can look at you, and um right now there's a green sparkle that pops by your head. So I love seeing that. Like for you, I just saw it clairvoyantly, but
Oh
sometimes I'll be
wow.
looking at my husband and I'll see it with my eyes, and I'm like, he knows, because he says I always trail off visually. I'm like, and he's like, what is that? What are you looking at?
Yeah, I totally relate to that. Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's awesome, though. I'm glad. I love when people start seeing that stuff, because there's no doubt, there's no arguing what you're seeing when
yeah.
when you have those little things, and it's such nice proof when you're looking for proof when this stuff's going on. You're looking to feel not crazy.
Oh yeah.
You're like, show me something, please.
Yeah, it's really nice. And um, I am thinking back to when I was younger. I've always had a connection, and I didn't know what I was experiencing growing up.
Mhm.
I always had an angelic like connection, and I used to give them like names. And looking back now at what I know, like Archangel Uriel was with me when I was a little girl, and I had a little song for her and everything. Like,
Oh my God.
yeah,
Oh, that's amazing.
like it's really cool to know now what I was dealing with as a little girl, and would tell people, and they'd be like, "Don't tell anybody else that."
That's what happens. Our parents try to protect us, or I don't think they really understand. They
Yeah.
don't know what to do with that, you
No,
know?
no.
And it ends up sort of shutting you down a little bit, because you think, oh, it's my imagination. And a lot of times, especially with kids, it's not. It's really, they're very open. We're very open when we're that age. And I always think, gosh, how much further would I be had I never been shut down as a child? I mean, I know everything happens as it should, but I'm like, man, I'd probably be Oprah or something, at this point.
I know that it's so true, and I think like I actually am a mother of two children, the two toddlers,
Yeah.
very very clairvoyant and clairaudient. Like my daughter, she can hear, and my son can see. And so
Oh,
I'm like, yeah, like when they tell me they see something, I'm like, well, say hello. And it's like
oh, that's good.
I'm not afraid. They will tell me right away, and I encourage that so they can like be like wish what we wish we had growing up. So they
Yes.
don't be like they'll be in high school, telling people about it and like helping them connect. Like
Yes. Oh, and they'll be so further ahead in being able to protect themselves and have boundaries with other people and understand how to sort of clear themselves. I mean, they'll be so much further ahead. You're doing them such a justice by doing that.
thank you. It is beautiful, and we were talking about this is a little bit off of the topic with our angels, but just like when you see things and you're taught to repress what you see, and
Hmm.
don't talk about it and don't believe it, and just like like it's really good to have that positive role model for the younger generations and our friends and stuff like that. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
People will be so much, I mean, we just would be better as people. And I think that's where this is going. I really think that um, people are going to be more spiritual as time goes on, and they're going to be more open-minded. And I was just telling a friend the other day, I think meditation is even going to come into the classrooms. All these things that are very ancient, I think, are going to get reintroduced, so we're better as people, basically, and more calmer and not angry, and all that stuff. It'll get there. I wish it would get there a little sooner.
I agree, and that's so amazing to witness. Like, I see like teenage girls and boys now, the things they're talking about, they're way more open, and
Yes.
they're talking about manifesting over lunch at Chipotle. I'm like, what? This is so cool.
It is. It's definitely the one good thing about spirituality is it's become trendy, which can be a bad thing, but it's also generally a good thing. Like that, it's opening people's mind to things and having them look up stuff online, and yeah, it's a good thing.
It is.
Definitely.
It's beautiful. So yeah, we just went over your initial connection with the angels, and um, what advice would you give to someone who's completely new and might not even know for sure if they believe in angels, but they want to have a connection because they might be in a place where they're open. They're open to trying
Right.
new things and tapping into that loving energy. Like, what would your advice be to someone who's just completely new?
I would say that it's really important to let go of any preconceived notions that you have about what you think angels are, and the rules that people have put on them is a lot of times what hinders people. They connect angels to the religious aspect of it, and that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And what I've told people was the same advice that the angels gave me when I was having a hard time thinking, I'm not religious and I'm talking to Archangel Michael and that's just tripping me out. I said to the angels, but I'm not religious. And they said, neither are we. And I was like, oh, and like then I was able to sort of start undoing the things I had been taught as a child. Um, uh, and not to knock the Bible, but a lot of times people look to that and it's like, you got to sort of pick through that. You know what I mean? So that's why I would tell people, try really hard to separate whatever you've been taught religious wise and allow the angels to talk to you and show them or show you how they would like to be perceived by you, if that makes sense. Like it's just about being open-minded, not feeling crazy. A lot of times people come to me feeling crazy or unsure what they're seeing. It's also a lesson in trust and having faith. And it's really hard to do because you're like, how am I going to have faith in something I'm not sure if I even understand or believe? And it's just sort of staying open to it. Humans want to control so much and they want certainty. And right out of the gate, I would tell people, you don't get certainty with this. You don't get it,
Yeah,
and you have to be okay with it. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that a lot more people right now are being a little bit more open to a little bit more like, oh, just trying something different than what they've been dealing with their whole life that hasn't shown any real results and
Mm-hmm.
assisting with their life and things like that. So I talk about that a lot. My channel's new and I just started and I just got the confidence to really tackle it. And the more and more I go with it, the more excited I get and the more confident I get.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you get to a point where you have so much knowledge, it just makes sense to share it to help others,
Yeah.
to lift them up. And I love to just encourage people to just all you have to do is ask. They're like they're always here. They're just waiting. Like she said when we first got on, they were so excited to be talked about and brought up. They're just so excited if you just ask them to assist you and into your life, they will be there to do that. So
Yes, and they always have been. And I think that's when I look back now, I'm like, you guys have always been there. You've always been helping me, but we always look for such obvious signs. And, the divine, everything, not that it can't be obvious, but a lot of times it's more subtle.
yeah,
It's much more subtle. And now I see that they've always been there. And, I tell people a lot of times just talk to them and ask them questions and then be open to how the answer is going to come across. Because I have people that say, I've been looking for signs. I haven't seen any. And then I find out that the sign they wanted was something like, oh, I wanted that tree over there to fall down for no reason. And I'm like, well, maybe you could be a little more open to, and then I go over some of the different ways that they might or show that sign. I'm sorry. And then it starts happening. They're like, oh my gosh, I have been finding pennies. I have been finding dimes. I have been finding a feather. And I'm like, yeah, subtle things that you wouldn't really notice now all of a sudden catches your awareness. And that's what I want to say too. Even when we don't know something's a sign, something draws our attention to it. And I teach people to start to be very aware of that. Like if you get pulled into looking at something, why did you? You know what I mean? A lot of times we just write it off. Our brain just is like, ah. And it's like, it's your responsibility to stop for a second and start to become aware of your surroundings and aware of the changes in your body, how you feel physically, those type of things. We're as responsible for, participating with the divine as we are as having them do things for us or show us signs.
yeah, I know. Like I agree, and like I actually really enjoy. Like it's so much fun to just connect with them, and like I play games with them. Like I just
Yes.
like, hey guys, hey angels, please just for fun, just give me a message in the next song that plays on my shuffle, and the
Yes.
one will be something so profound. It's like I've been singing this song for like 10 years, and it's never had this meaning to me before.
Yes. Yes, I did that early on. If I was making a long drive,
Yeah.
I would say like, will you talk to me through the next song? And I can remember clearly, it was years ago. It was Ziggy Marley,
Yeah.
Bob Marley's son. The next song that came on after I asked was, I think I'm going to get this wrong, but it was You Are My Friend. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, and I got chills and I was like, that's so nice. And then like a nutcase, I asked for 20 more songs. And then they started going like, no, you're overdoing.
yeah. I've
Like
done
I tend to do that sometimes. Like I'd spend a real lesson to not keep asking for signs and asking for proof. And they're like, we showed you. We showed you 10 times. Like,
I agree. Yeah, I've done it too. It was like, I don't think this song is a message. Like that's when you know, like they're
yeah.
playing.
You're like, I need 4 more to just be sure of it. And I'm sure a lot of times the angels and guides are rolling their eyes at me like, this girl, man.
So awesome. So I wonder, what can you say to kind of help people understand the connection or the differences between the archangels and the angels and like their mission or like their purpose?
What I would say is that even though the divine are happy for you to ask them questions and find out about them, what eventually happens is they want you treating them as one, if that makes sense. A lot of times it's just like the archangels oversee the angels beneath them. And a lot of times, for example, let's say you call on Archangel Michael. It's not always Archangel Michael who shows up, and yet it is. And I know that sounds kind of weird. It's like the angels that are part of him and working with him are the ones that show up. But yet it's him, it'll sound like him because they feel that they're one. They don't feel any separation. And that's how also they can get more work done, if that makes sense.
Does make sense.
Yeah. So, And there's angels for all kinds of things. I do know that there's angels that have specialties. Like you have protection angels, and that's what they strictly focus on. You have career angels. You have any angels you can think of. And there's so many different kinds. And a lot of times it depends on, they're at different levels and they're working up sometimes the levels also. Sometimes they stay at a level. They're happy at that level. There's millions really of different kinds of angels. And there's even angels above the archangels. So we a lot of times know that there's, I believe, 13 to 16 archangels that we know the names of. There's really thousands of them. But they know that if they say I'm Archangel Bob, you'll be like, no, you're not. So, they don't always necessarily present themselves. They'll let the main guys sort of show up and go, okay, I know you, I read about you, but they're all working for the same goal. And that's what's really nice, is that they're all on your team. You know what I mean? And yeah, hopefully that explains it. I remember early on I was very more specific. Like I get attached to certain things and I want to sort of put them in a box a little bit. And the angels have taught me and are still teaching me to like let go of that box a little bit. It's like sometimes I'll be like, who's here? And they'll be like, don't worry about it. It's us. And I'm like, but I want to know who. But that's a lesson for me in sort of letting go. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I guess I do the same thing, and I do want to know. And sometimes you're right; they won't say my name is blah blah. They'll just be like, I have something to tell you. It's like,
yes. I have to say, like the highest angels that I've ever talked to have been the seraphim.
Yes.
And what was interesting is that they, instead of me hearing sort of a singular angel, I hear a group saying the same thing, if that makes sense. And a lot of times their message is different. Like where Archangel Michael and I can have a full conversation like you and I are talking right now. The seraphim, to me, being so high up, it's usually just a short message continually. So those are the differences sometimes I notice too, is how they work or how they're coming across.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, love it. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is really neat I never thought I'd be talking to seraphim.
I know. It's what I think is really really cool, and what I'm discovering is I do allude to this in some of my videos that I actually write, and it's really interesting to look back at the things I was writing from like childhood. It's like I was talking about these things and I thought I was making them up and being original, and no. The connection was always there, and I was just writing what I innately knew. But right now, what I am thinking about and wondering is if you could also tell us how do the spirit guides fit in, and this whole team. I feel like they're all a team.
Yes.
Archangels and spirit guides and the ascended masters and all of that stuff. I know that when I first started, I was afraid to connect with spirit guides. Like, I'm just going to be safe and stick with only archangels, not even angels, just archangels.
Yes. Well, that's smart. And that's how I teach people. When I'm in the lessons I have people do, we start with archangels because most people are very comfortable with them and they feel safe and protected, more so than when we get to the spirit guides. And archangels, being stronger, you could say, are easier to hear. So I think, because I've had people, they always right away want to get to their spirit guides. And I'm like, let's start here. And then by the time you get there, it'll be easier for you because you have spirit guides that can be from the 4th dimension all the way up to the 12th, or I should say 11th, really. their skill sets vary. And so once we get your gifts stronger, it's easier to see who's who and to talk to them, because if you're talking to an archangel, you're going to be talking to an archangel. Spirit guide, you can get false guides, and you got to be able to know to recognize that. And I don't say that to cause any fear with anyone. It's pretty simple. It's not a big deal, but you do need to be aware of it, you know.
I agree.
And you do have, sometimes you have just a few spirit guides, but you can have up to 20 or 30 at any time. And they come and go depending on what's going on with you and what you need, what you're doing at the time. Even skill set wise, you'll have guides that come in for that period of time, and then they leave again and go help other people. And then you have new guides that come in. You have guides that are with you for lifetimes, and some guides that will just be with you from birth until you pass. So you have a whole host, and most of them you will never know, but they don't care. They're happy to help you. And I had 3 that came in recently because I'm being prepped for something new. So, and they haven't given me all the details. So even me, people always think like you're supposed to know everything. It's like, oh no, they don't tell me stuff sometimes either, you know, but they tell you when it's time for you to know. But spirit guides are very cool because you have, a lot of times they look like people because they were once people, but sometimes they look like symbols, lights. You get galactic beings that are your spirit guides, animals. I mean, it gets crazy cool because there's all different kinds of things that your guides can be, which is really neat, you know.
It is really cool. Um, so you, so like ancestors can be spirit guides for people as well, like people you've known.
They can be. I treat them a little differently usually. I don't want to say it doesn't happen. It does happen, but where I'm cautious about it with people is that a lot of times someone will think that any person that passed, that they loved, is a guide, and it's like, oh, your grandmother might have been quite something else when she was on this earth. And now when she passed over, she's sort of learning things. So you don't want to be asking her questions because she, not that she would steer you wrong, like in a negative sense, but like if your ancestor has a lot of work to do and they haven't quite left the human part of them that went on behind yet, the advice will be colored with that. If that makes any sense, you know. So I tell people, be careful. Not all ancestors are guides, but they can be.
Yeah.
And I know that can be a little confusing, but usually if an ancestor is a guide, it is an ancestor that has probably lived longer than just the last lifetime with you. And they'll step forward and say, I'm your, you know, great aunt, and you know, but I tell people, don't just be calling on your grandmother for stuff, because you might be like, I don't want to do that. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you don't know what level they're at, you know, and that's another thing. Even though you're always safe when you cross over, depending on what happened in your life, you could be at a lower level that you're going to work to a higher level. And that's another reason why we don't want to be pulling on our ancestors and sort of interrupting the work that they're doing. Yeah. But you learn those things. There's nothing to worry about. You just learn those things, you know.
Such a good point, and I'm glad you said that because I would have not have thought to mention that. Like, yeah, like the ones that are in like this lifetime might have stuff to work on, but then you also have the ones from your past lives who want to, you know, give a little assistance.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting, all the different, when I think I have any idea of how many beings there are, there's more. So like I'm always learning too. I'm like, oh, I did not know that, you know, and it's it used to be daunting to me, and now it's more exciting to find more, you know. I think at first I was trying to understand it, And I thought, if I don't understand it, how am I going to help anyone? And it's like, I had to take that pressure off myself. Like, as I'm growing and learning, I'm helping people, hopefully. And then as I learn more, hopefully that helps them more, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's really nice. We're always evolving, we're always growing. The big
Yes.
gurus are still learning. It's like, yeah.
Yes. And that's how you know too, if you've got a guru you don't want to be following, is that they know it all. You're like, not very, it's not very enlightened of you, you know?
Absolutely, exactly.
I always tell people too, if your guru is constantly talking about them being enlightened, that's a red flag, because Jesus didn't walk around telling everyone he was enlightened. He didn't even cross his mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are sort of flags for, I'm probably going to get nasty emails like, my guru. I like my guru, you know, but I just tell people, be careful. It's, if the goal is, if someone's goal is all around being enlightened, they're missing the point. We're
Yeah.
here to learn and grow. We're not here to get enlightened. And by the time you get enlightened, you won't care that you're enlightened,
Yeah, exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Oh
Mm-hmm.
man, that just popped some inspirations. Like it's gonna have to be another video for just
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, it's good. Write it down.
yeah. Yeah, I would love to get into the Hill Ascendant Masters. Like, I work with them as well. They're
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool. And it's like, wow. It's just like, it's just so much out there that
There
is
is. Their
amazing.
energy is always amazing to me. It's so, whenever I work with Ascended Master, their energy is just so high. Like, even sometimes the angels, even if I'm working with them, I don't always feel them clairsentiently, because it just varies. But when I'm working with an Ascended Master, I always just feel like all this energy, and it just feels amazing. It's, yeah, they're pretty cool. And they're always very loving. I mean, everyone's very loving, but they're always just quite amazing. Now, some of them, I have had some that are more, well, and this is with angels too, they can be more stern, but
Mhm.
that comes across when you really need it.
Yeah, that loving assertiveness.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
what would you say, if for people who don't even know what this term is, what would you say is an ascendant master?
I would say that an Ascended Master was at one time a human who had in every lifetime worked their way up the levels to the point where then they did become enlightened. And that was what now makes them an Ascended Master. I think I'm taking something very big and making it this small, but
No,
but
that's
that's basically, like, they through all their lifetimes reached that pure enlightenment, and now are rewarded with being an Ascended Master so that they can help everyone else.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice. Like, yeah, like you said, there's so many different types, and if you just like when you're struggling and you don't know where to go, it's like there's so much help out there if you could just ask for it and be open to the way that
Yes.
you did. Like your life could be so much easier.
Yes. I wish I would have known even part of some of this when I was younger, because you do struggle with so many things,
Yeah,
and they are there to help. Like, I notice even when times are very tough, I do not feel alone
yeah,
ever. And that's really nice to think like you have this whole group, and even more so than that, that love you and, you know, are supporting you. And that would have been nice to know years ago. And that's why I'm glad we do stuff like this, because I hope, you know, it reaches younger people and they know, like, if you, it doesn't matter if you can't hear them, it doesn't matter if you can't see them, they are there. They're there and they're helping you, and you don't ever have to feel by yourself, because you walked into this earth with a bunch of people, you know,
yeah.
and you'll leave, they'll walk you out of
But a
this
whole
time
team.
too.
So you are not alone. You got a team. Like,
Oh yes, and that's what I always call them. I call it, it's funny because sometimes, even though I think some people have gotten used to me saying team,
mhm.
for for people that I don't usually talk about this with, like if it's my friend and I'm like, my team's here, she's like, what team? I'm like, oh, my spirit guides. Like, forget not everyone's down with my slang.
Right. It's true.
Yeah.
um, so another thing that I wanted to talk about is just a little bit, like a little like crash like course, not even a course, but just like about manifesting. And like it's really cool because you can actually ask your team to assist you in manifesting.
Yes.
That adds
Mm-hmm.
a whole nother beautiful factor into this whole thing.
Yes.
What's your take on manifesting?
You know, I feel like, well, I feel different ways. I
Yeah.
feel that I guess here's where I'm different from what I see happening online.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people aren't going to be happy to hear this, but I see people taking ideas and shortening them so much, then people aren't really getting good information on manifesting because they think, well, if I sit down and I write down what I want to happen, or I just visualize it, it'll happen. And then it's not happening. And so I think that's where a lot of people have a very sparkly version of it, and it's not really doing anyone justice. For me, manifesting, well, here's this. Whenever I'm talking to the angels and guides and they're giving me information for people that need help on whatever, career, love, this stuff, they have never ever said to me to tell them, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to sit down, you're going to close your eyes, and you're going to visualize it happening. Never. In all the years I've been doing this, it has always been about action and intent. And so that's what I tell people, is that it's not that visualization doesn't work, but to me it works like this. Like, if someone is running a marathon, a lot of times like a therapist will teach the person, okay, before you run the marathon, I want you to imagine running it in your head. And you get a good time, you get to the end of the line, you did all those miles in 10 minutes or whatever. The difference is they do this and then they actually go run the marathon. So I tell people who say to me that they've been trying to manifest whatever it is and it's not working. I'm like, well, what have you been doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, so-and-so told me just to sit and visualize it. I'm like, what? I'm like, that you can do that, but then you actually have to go do something. And to me, manifesting is stronger when you actually show the universe that you mean it and that you're going to do something to provoke that change. It can be something really small. I think a lot of times people look at like something major needs to happen. It's like, no, like let's say you want to manifest more money. Well, the first thing they're going to do is probably say, where are you spending too much? And no one ever wants to hear that. They just want to rain money down on them. And it's like, yeah, me too. But if you start tomorrow by going, every day I buy a cup of coffee, I'm not going to buy that cup of coffee this week. I'm going to make it at home. That's manifesting change. No one likes that though, because it doesn't sound as magical and as effortless as a lot of the stuff that I see on Instagram and online. I watch some people and I'm like, this is a bunch of, So that's sort of my opinion with the manifestation, is that the universe goes off of your intent and your energy. So when you're trying to manifest something, you need to say, where am I holding myself back? First of all, where can I start to align myself with more of what I want? And then what you'll notice is stuff starts actually happening and you're like, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my opinion. A lot of people, they have to stop thinking that they can read The Secret and have it. It's like that book, I'm telling you what. It's not that it's wrong. It's that a lot of people, it just was simplified down too much. And it actually has you not being a participant in the change that needs to happen. So I tell people you have to, put out in the universe what you want, but then your energy needs to match it.
so true.
you know?
So true.
Yeah. But like I said, I feel like I'm going against what I see, and I know that some people aren't going to like that, but it's like, I'm telling you, I've worked with them for years, and you can't just sit and have stuff happen. You can't just call it to you or imagine you're the money. It's like, no, the universe needs to see you doing something or doing lots of little things, and then they can go, oh, she means business, we're going to help her out here and really make it happen, because we're here for our own destiny. We're here to create change and to align ourselves with our highest path. The angels and guides can only do so much. Like, if you're not raising your energy to the energy of what you want, you're going to keep missing it,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
that's so true. That is like, I feel like is one of the most important things, is to be in alignment to what you
Yes.
want to attract. Like, otherwise you're just gonna attract the things that are in alignment where you are, and if you're not doing what you need to do to get there,
Yes.
yeah.
You're right. And I think I said this in a video, and I hope the friend never watches it, but I have a wonderful friend I love, but she has never dated good guys.
Yeah.
And she's just the sweetest person in the world. And she always wants a good relationship, and she doesn't know why she doesn't have one. I know, and I can't bring myself to tell her, that her energy draws in the wrong thing. And then when she gets red flags from the universe, she ignores them.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell people. It's like, you can't just keep doing what you're doing and expecting to manifest, something better. You actually have to do the work. It's like you writing your books. Can you imagine, if you were like, well, I want to write a book, but you never sat down to do it? How's the book gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like,
Just lower a book from
just yeah, right. Right. That would be really nice.
we put my name.
That's right.
I was just telling someone the same things. Like, I want to start a catering business, but there's always some kind of like reason not to start taking the action to do it. I'm like, if you want it, you got to start showing that you're serious about it. So start doing the little things and
Yes.
put it out there that you're serious about this catering. Like, you can't do a catering business sitting at home, like.
No, not at all. And I think people think it has to be, and I even struggle with this sometimes too, it has to be perfect and all ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's like, I did, what you're doing with your video series now, that's how I started. I just put my first YouTube video up. I had my phone. I mean, I just one day was like, what do I got to lose? And I was so nervous. I was scared to death, but I did it. And now I see, like, I've shown the universe, like, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to do it, So it's not waiting for it to be perfect and just so you gave your friend right advice. It's like you just got to do something small. And the beauty of that too, because a lot of times the clients I get, they're really afraid to fail. They want a guarantee. And I'm like, we're here to play in the universe, and they think they have to do one thing and do it well. And it's like, well, while you're doing that one thing, you might find something you really like to do because you were trying this other thing. Like, you have to be open to where these different paths can take you, not look at it as a failure, but just like something cool you were doing and now you're doing something different. Like, it's not a failure, so it's looking at stuff differently, because other humans will tell you, you got to know what you're doing. You've got to be good at it. And if you do 10 different things, then your mind's all over the place. And it's like, if you do 10 things, you do them well, and you're having a good time, the universe applauds you. They think very differently than us. They're like, that's cool. This person's having fun, so it's humans can mess up other humans, with their limited views, basically, their limitations they put on themselves.
Yeah, that's why it's nice to start to tear down each layer of the things you've been taught that aren't serving you, and
Yes.
innocent, childlike core that is ready to experiment and play again. Like,
Yes. Yes, I agree. It's hard to, yeah. It's, you can see yourself grow too when you start doing that. Like when you start putting boundaries up with other people. And I think sometimes you're helping them even though you don't know it. I think when you're saying, "Hey, I'm cool. I'm happy with what I'm doing." I think that probably they later go and like think about it a little bit. And sometimes it's like just that little seed, that hopefully starts opening stuff for other people. And
that's so beautiful. Yes. Yeah. And once you're out there, inspiring by your action, that opens up so many light bulbs for the people that are watching.
yes, absolutely. Yep.
Is there anything else you wanted to discuss with the viewers?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Now I know why you couldn't think of things. When you're on the spot, you're like, no, what are you thinking? Like, have you talked? I know that correct me if I'm wrong here, but you had a very big connection to galactic beings.
Yeah.
Am I correct there?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I wondered, like, since we talked last, have you been in contact with any? Has anything happened?
It's been it's been a really really like cool journey. Like ever since we discussed that, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna figure out what's going on, and um, yeah, I've seen them and spoken to them, and it just
Oh,
really,
good.
yeah, to know that that's where, if my claircognizance is strong because they're giving me, you know, um, they're giving me just like, it's really hard to explain.
I understand
Yeah.
that. I understand that sometimes this happened the other day, I got a bunch of good information.
Yeah.
I didn't write any of it down. So then I went to tell my sister and I was like, oh God, I don't know what they said. Well, do you feel, I'm curious as to how their energy feels to you compared to other like angels and guides.
They just feel like it feels a little different than the angels and the
Mm-hmm.
masters, and just feels like a like family, or like really
Mm-hmm.
like just loving, like really
Yes.
loving, and just like wanting me to succeed and like rooting me on.
Yes.
And I am trying to develop this relationship, even though they've been there giving me like my claircognizance and helping me with that and guiding me in like very subtle ways. I know that there is like that connection wants to be, uh, I think, eventually shared in some way, because
Mm-hmm.
there's
Oh
a
yeah.
message there, and um, it's just like a whole journey to discover all of this. Like I did connect and get to see them, and they look they look like what I would like. I think they come to me in what I would be comfortable seeing.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it's a
Absolutely.
group of very Nordic, Icelandic looking people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and that's like I'm comfortable with that because I feel a connection to like the Scandinavians. Like
Yeah.
a past life as a Viking, I'm sure of it.
Well, I believe that I can't think which one it is now. It's either the Arcturians or the Lemurians that look
Yeah.
Nordic like, and I'll think of it when we get off the interview here, but that they're very blonde, blue-eyed, light skin. Yes. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really that I notice when I talk to them, which I I go through periods where I'm either very connected or not, and I think part of it's my choice. I think it just depends on what's going on with my month and what have you.
Yeah.
And their energy to me always felt more electric.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like it feels as good as an angel, but different.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to put into words. And for them, I feel that they talk in a group too. Like
Mhm.
it sounds like one, but it has this group energy to it,
Mhm.
which is really interesting.
Oh, it's so cool.
It is cool. It's amazing to think that darn thing. It's amazing to think all the different that you have these really intelligent beings that are choosing to help us because you know, not only does it benefit them, but then they're trying to work for the greater good.
Mhm.
That's just crazy, you know. It's like a whole group of people wants to help all of us. You know, it's just amazing to me.
It has been the most the coolest, most sci-fi like movie. Like just like
Yeah.
it has been insane. Like my close group of girlfriends, we're all the same. Like one of them's, you know, we're all mediums of some sort or
Hmm.
healers. Like we all speak the same language. And when I revealed to them about the guides, they were just like, we were all trying to discover like where they're from and stuff. And it was just like a cool like little scavenger hunt. And while I was searching for stuff, I feel like there was a message implanted just for me. And when I was doing some search, there was a message that came up, and it was so eerie, it gave me full body chills. And I was like, did they put that there just for me? Because they knew one day
Oh.
I'd be looking this up. Like,
Oh wow, that's cool.
cool, yeah.
Oh, that is neat. They're so tricky like in that way. And I mean that in the nicest way. You know, they're slick. They
Uh-huh.
all are, you know, with the ways that they can the
Yeah.
things they do to get their messages across or, you know,
I
it's
think the
fun.
angels are like that too. They'll give you little signs and you'll think one thing and then you'll get to see the what comes into fruition of it, and they're like, are you kidding me? Is this what
Yes.
you're
I'm
trying to
like, you guys.
do?
Yes. You know, I just had oh, I was having a rough week and I kept getting, when I was asking something, I kept hearing the number 5. And at first I thought, you know, I have a tendency to ruminate a little bit and they try to stop that from happening
Yeah.
all the time. And I kept getting 5 and I'm like, that's not the right answer. Like, why are you saying that? Well, anyway, I use my tarot deck sometimes because at night, my energy gets where it's not as good to talk to them. And
Mhm.
I've just recently learned that. So instead I use my tarot deck to save my energy.
Cool.
And I said, why do you keep saying 5? I know that doesn't fit. And I pulled the 5 of wands. Sorry if I could talk. I pulled the 5 of wands, and I'm not sure if you're aware of the 5 of wands, but it means about, you know, fighting within yourself or with other people. And I'm like, oh, well, I get why you were saying 5. Like you're trying to say, like, quit fighting against this, you know? And I thought, you guys are sneaky. Like,
Yeah, they are.
I wish they would have just said that outright, but you know, I think they were trying to get me to get it
They
first. And
do.
then finally they showed me that and I was like, oh.
Yeah. Then that it makes more of an impact when you get led on this little trail to
Yes.
coming to the self-realization. Is like, wow, it's
Yeah.
possible.
Because they do need you. You're right about that. They need you to learn. And I think one of the best pieces of advice I got when I used to get really mad at myself if I couldn't get all the information.
Mhm.
And Archangel Michael said to me, there are things you are meant to know and things you are meant to learn. And I was like, oh. And I thought, now I have to tell that to my students because it's very fitting for so many things. Like, there's things you're meant to know and things you're meant to learn. And it's like, I just want to know, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so cool. And yeah, it's so important to teach us instead of just giving us all of the answers. We do have to experience it and learn it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And it's hard. Sometimes you just want to be told what to
Yeah.
do. You know, and I do. That's why I understand when clients do it for me. They're like, but what about this? What do they want me to do? And they're always like, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
We're here to help you do what you want to do. And it can be very frustrating, but I get it now, you know, and I hope that people get it more too. It's like, for them, it's frustrating, but it's like, don't you see the freedom you have?
Yes.
You can do whatever you want to do. This is yours for the picking, you know, for the taking. And, but they're not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I just got a little pop in my head. Is there anything that, like, the angels that are with you now want us to know?
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me, hold on one second here. They said this is a very powerful meeting, more so than you realize. A little bit for me, but mostly for you. They're saying that it's the start of something big for you. But they're saying, because we said that, don't get too far ahead of yourself. I'm wondering if they have a message for whoever is listening to this. They're saying to just be open-minded and have fun with the information that you're absorbing. Hold on one second. They like that our banter is, what's the word they're using? Softer is the word that they're using. Because they're saying that so many people online get very, very serious about all this. And what happens is that people end up missing the point because they're trying to understand. Hold on one second. They're trying to understand all these big words coming out of people's mouth. And they said it doesn't have to be that difficult or complicated. Anyone can understand anything we're talking about, is what they're saying. And so it's good that there's people like us to sort of break it down and simplify it for people. And they're saying that we talk how we understand. And there's a lot of people like us. They're saying that there's people that are going to make you feel, not you, but you as the group you, that you have to have some deep, wide knowledge, and you don't. You're already a divine being. You're already a light worker. Hold on, they're saying something about that. They're saying you're all light workers. All of you, even if you don't know it. Sorry, I'm thinking of I'm interrupting them because I'm thinking. I'm like, what do you mean? I'll have to ask them later in more detail what they mean. Oh, they're saying being a divine spark, you are a light worker naturally. And I think they're talking about everybody. Like, we separate ourselves saying we are light workers, but I feel like what they're saying is that everyone on earth is, which is interesting. I'll have to unpack that a little more later. Let's see if they say anything else here. Sorry, sometimes they keep going and I'm like, I don't know where they're going with it.
No, it's cool.
They're saying they want people to be true to themselves. And that starts with looking inward. They're saying that there's a lot of people that are watching this, even though they came to watch your video for one reason, that they're looking outside of themselves in their life. And the divine really need all of us to look inward for that answer, for that change. And they're saying they don't mean that flippantly, because I feel like that keeps getting heard from people, and they're like, yeah, I got to look inside myself. But they're saying, but they're still not doing it. They're also saying that there's great change upon us. Hold on one second. Oh, and that starts inward too. And all they show me, it doesn't make sense to me right now, but they just show me this gold light getting bigger and bigger. And it feels like it's not earth. It just feels like earth energy, like it's happening for everyone. I'm going to ask them one more question here. They're saying too, like there's some sort of cycle going on. And then I saw Trump. I do not like politics, so I don't even want to say that name, but hold on one second. They're saying that's going to get better. all this nastiness and stuff going on. I feel like they're sort of going all over here, but they're saying people need to hear that. It's going to get better.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to get better. Hold on one second. It's not that we need to, I have to be careful saying this. It's not that we have to do any work for that change to happen. The change is going to happen anyway. Not that you don't need to not stand up for injustices and what have you, but they're saying that they're working out the kinks and they want people to know that. And I think that means like on a broad scale, you know. Let's see if there's anything else. They're just saying that you're a bright light. They're saying it to you. And we need that light to grow though. Hold on one second. They're not saying it in the sense that you're not. You are, but there's somewhere where you're hindering yourself still. Like you're sort of holding the rein back still. They just want you to let the rein go. They're like, just drop it, you know. They don't want you doubting yourself. They don't want you holding yourself back. And there's an uncertainty that you need to outgrow that you still have about yourself. I asked them if you'll outgrow it, and they said, "You betcha." So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. They could go. I'm sure they'd go on and on. I'll let them. We covered so many things right there. I think that.
Yes.
But
That's beautiful. What a gift to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It popped in my head, and I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let me ask."
Well, probably popped in your head on purpose. Well, and I didn't. Hopefully, it sounded okay because I wasn't prepared, but hopefully, the message came as it should for everybody. And it's funny sometimes what their message is. I know it sometimes doesn't have anything to do with maybe like what we're talking about, but it's like obviously people need to hear something.
Yeah.
And I really don't like politics, but it must be weighing heavy on people.
I think so. From what I see in life, because I don't look, I
Yeah.
stopped looking a long time ago, just from can't handle the emotion and the all of the energy. But just from seeing the climate when I go out in public, or what everyone is hurting and angry about, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, there must be some really bad stuff going on, but I don't want to know what it is. So yeah, it was
No.
what we most needed to hear as a collective.
Yeah, and it makes me feel it's what I wondered. It takes things getting really bad to provoke great change, and that's what I just kept hoping. I thought I'm not even going to ask, but that makes me even feel better that something is happening, something's going in the right direction. And then maybe I can start watching the news again when it happens.
I know, without
Because
being
now I'm like, nope, nope. I get so mad. Like, if you ever want to see how unspiritual I can be, have me watch the news. And then I'm just like swear wording and upset. And I'm like, well, I have a lot of spiritual growth to do as a person.
I know, because we just don't understand. Like that's one thing that triggers me too is injustice.
Mm-hmm.
That triggers me, and it's just like we just can't understand how some of these things, like how people can be to one another. It just hurts on a soul level. It's really hard. Yeah.
It is, and I think there's so much that we have to let go of, and I think that that's why some of this stuff is going on. It's almost like purging us. I think we all thought that we were further ahead, and we really weren't. We were just sort of pushing stuff under the rug. So I'm hoping that that's because I know for me personally, when I still have, and it's been happening recently, I still have things to let go of, and so it sort of feels like things are getting worse
Mhm.
for me because so I let go of them. And I can see that in this last week or two, but I'm like, man, I need a break. Like,
Yeah.
can I get a break? But they always know what they're doing. And what ends up happening is I always end up apologizing to my spirit guides and then thanking them. I'm like, you were right. I'm sorry for what I said.
Aw, how sweet. That's a
Yeah.
connection. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for that. That was whoa.
Well, and hopefully, that makes sense for whatever. I don't know what they're talking about with you, but I have a feeling you know what they're
Oh, I
talking
know.
about. Yeah.
One of the things you said earlier about we want everything to be perfect, and you sometimes you can't go even go forward until everything is perfect, and
Mhm.
that's what I struggle with. I am a perfectionist, and it's like if I don't have all of the elements in perfect sync, then I don't step out of my comfort zone. So that's
Yep.
what I'm working on. It's just like I get waves of inspiration of what I want to talk about and share, and then sometimes I'll do it, I'll ride that wave, and sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't look so great today, and I'm like, I don't want to like be on camera, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, I do it too. And I'm even doing it. I I told you that they are working on some things with me, my guides. They haven't given me the whole thing. And I'm struggling because I know it has to do with shadow work and helping people in that way. And I'm like, it's sort of like it's stuck. And I almost feel, I'm dreading this a little bit. I almost feel like they sort of just want me to do it. And then I'll figure it out as I'm doing it. But I'm like, I don't know. But I think that's why it's not progressing because it's actually me implementing some of the stuff I've learned
Yeah.
without knowing the whole thing,
Yeah.
you know?
I know. I feel that around the last full moon. Oh man, they I was put through some intense shadow work boot camp.
Oh, yes.
It was rough.
I understand. I think I'm still really in it to some extent. Like it's not as rough, but I can still see that I keep getting the Four of Pentacles and I'm like, damn. Like,
Yeah.
and like I'm still holding on to something, and but but it's good. If anything, everything that I have to go through, I end up usually being able to help other people. So I know there's a reason for it. It's just hard to see it when you're in it sometimes. But it's like, how can I help other people with their shadows
Yeah.
if I've got so many of my own that so I get it. I really do. But I don't know what'll come of that. It's something like I know I'll still be teaching people how to use their abilities, but
Yeah.
there's something else coming in and it's not doing readings. It's almost like helping people with their shadows so that they aren't worried if their boyfriend's breaking up with them. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's all about you and and letting go of those things so you can create whatever you want to create. I think that's where it's going, but we'll
Wow.
see.
That's
We'll
amazing.
see. We'll see what they got in mind here.
New things are exciting.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, thank you so, so much. I am just like full to the brim of just like joy and excitement and just
Oh,
gratitude. Thank you so much.
thank you. This is all your idea, and it was just meant the world to me that you asked me. So I really appreciate it. It's nice to talk to um, someone that understands what you're talking about. Like a lot of times we don't have a lot of people, we don't run up and down the street like, hey, you want to talk about angel? So it's nice to have someone that's like, yeah, I get it. I understand,
Exactly. It's
like a community, we have our own community, which is really nice.
yeah, and that's what I've been guided to trying to kind of foster is a community where we're
Yes.
safe and we can, go back and forth on these things in a loving way. And that's what we did today. So
Yes. Oh, yay. It's so nice. You've given me this. I'll just have a good day now because of it. So I thank you so much. It's so nice to be able to talk to you in
yes,
person, sort of, face to face anyway.
absolutely. It was really nice. And it's like I just feel so blessed because you really helped me when I was learning things in the beginning. And it's like, wow, now here she is.
Oh, good. That's all the validation I need is if I've helped anyone at all, then I'm doing the right thing that I'm on. It's confirmation for the path I'm on. So I love hearing it when I do hear it. I
I'm glad
appreciate it.
we pushed through those initial fears and got those videos out, and now the sky's the limit.
That's right. Now I'm going to be Oprah. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, you're gonna get your Oprah moment.
That's right. I don't know when it'll be, but it's coming.
I love it.
Oh,
So I guess we are so thankful for you guys for joining us today. I hope that you have found some clarity and some inspiration and got to feel a little bit of all of this light that we are putting out into the world, and know that you have a divine light as well, and you go out there and share it. And we will have please check Ryan out on her YouTube channel. It's Rock the Divine. I will put the link in the description. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. And hopefully in the future, we will get back together and do another video. And
yep.
we bring in some more cool people with lots of loving energy out to you guys. Thank you so much, Ryan. You have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.